Hey, Stellan cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Boom, boom, boom. Ba-ding, ding, ching, ching, ching. You see what cousin's house we at? We is at our cousin Mr. Creepy's house. You know? Period. We at Mr. Creepy's house. As I always say, feel free to go over there, subscribe over there, watch some videos over there, and then just come back here to enjoy them with me as well. Okay? What? What are we doing? Crazy true Craigslist horror story. You know I love these because what? Y'all needs to be careful on Craigslist. Y'all don't know them people at all. Okay? People get scammed every day on Craigslist. Y'all need to be careful. Scammed, kidnapped. We see that one where the man bought the jeans, sent the jeans back, talking about them. No, I don't want them. Put the camera in the box. Pulled up to her house. You gotta be careful out here. But yes, let's get into it, please. Grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, stay hydrated, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket so you can be snug. All right? All right. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go.
Do you feel better now and ready to tell us about what really happened? The police officer asked Belle. The girl had just gone through the craziest things in her life,
Yeah,
and
we
it all
seen this
started when she
one.
agreed to
It's
be a
okay.
maid for a woman.
It's okay. We can watch it. We'll watch it again.
Nancy was a pretty busy girl. Lately,
Hopefully they're
she
not all
didn't
like
have the
this.
time to do housework, so she posted a commercial on Craigslist to hire a maid. After posting it, she received a lot of email
Because
applications.
this one is
She scrolled through them and noticed a person's profile. That was a very impressive profile of a person named Belle. Unfortunately, her face was ruined by burn scars.
What an unlucky girl.
Nancy
Yep.
finally contacted the girl and decided to hire her. On the first day of work, Nancy couldn't help but be startled by the girl's appearance, even though she had seen her photo. The girl introduced herself.
My name is Belle. Thank you for hiring me.
Nancy smiled in a friendly manner and began to introduce the work to Belle. After a few days, Nancy thought Belle was an understanding and hard-working girl.
Why would you give her
So
the
she
keys to your
trusted her
house?
and even gave her the house keys. The two of them became close friends. Nancy bought new clothes for Belle and confided in her all kinds of stories. But Nancy did not know that she was in the same house with a dangerous person.
Dangerous.
Whenever Nancy was away from home, Belle would sneak into her room, put on Nancy's best and prettiest clothes, and play with her makeup.
You've had
Using her
such
makeup
a
brushes
full and
getting in
wealthy
her bed is
life.
so disrespectful.
God is so unfair.
Belle lay on Nancy's bed and started to say
Girl,
things like,
Can I ever have a chance to take this someday?
while enjoying herself,
like,
she suddenly
if
heard
y'all
the
just
door
became
open.
friends
Oh,
and
no.
just was cool
She's
until
back.
y'all was
Belle
old.
jumped up
You
and
know,
quickly
no
climbed out the window.
Climbed out the window, bitch. You ain't even supposed to be up in her house right now.
Nancy
Oh,
had just entered the room but didn't notice how messy it was. She was too preoccupied with her boyfriend. They seemed so in love. From outside the window, Belle witnessed everything. She saw Nancy's handsome boyfriend and felt jealous again.
I must get all of this soon.
She became
Girl,
angry and
on
left the
now.
house. The next
She's paying
morning,
you and buying
Belle
you
went
clothes.
to
Come on
Nancy's
now.
house to find her boyfriend still there.
Belle, how lucky you are. Would you mind making breakfast for us? Okay.
Belle quickly entered the kitchen,
Is that what made
trying to
you?
keep
Like,
herself
I would've been
calm
like,
when
girl,
she saw
you
the
know,
two of them getting close right in front of her. Belle mumbled.
They don't deserve it. I do.
She couldn't help her envious flame. While preparing food, she snuck sleeping pills into Nancy's meal.
It's time.
Bill brought out the food for the two of them and smiled.
Bon appetit.
Both of them finished breakfast, and then Nancy's boyfriend left the house. After a while, Nancy finally fell asleep. Bill gently carried Nancy into the bathroom.
This space is so beautiful. And
Y'all.
so is...
Y'all. When I say y'all ain't ready, y'all ain't ready.
the hair.
Light your blunt. Light your blunt. Yep.
She inhaled the beautiful scent of Nancy's hair.
You
Like, right
have
now.
all the things
It's
that
already
I
at the
want,
beginning of the
but
video,
now
but light your blunt.
I'll get it all.
Belle was so engulfed in her own vision of a new life that she didn't care for anything else. She
Crazy.
turned
Up in here
evil.
tweaking.
She gently took the knife and then skillfully filtered out Nancy's hair.
Her head.
So
duh.
beautiful. This little thing is
Oh!
so beautiful. I'll be
Snapped it
careful.
off like a
She
wig.
happily
y'all.
put the scalp with hair on her head and looked in the mirror.
Snatched her muffin
Oh!
top back.
How beautiful it is!
It got blood in it.
Belle took Nancy's necklace and put it on her own neck. After performing her barbaric
got
debauchery,
blood in it.
Belle
It's
returned
not
to
even a
Nancy's room
clean
and
wig.
did her beautiful hair and makeup.
It's full on.
Belle
bloody
took Nancy's
scalp.
phone and texted her boyfriend.
Come and have lunch with me.
Okay, babe.
Why would
He
you text
replied
that?
immediately.
Playing in that
She felt
fancy
like she
game.
had become the real Nancy who was living a happy life. She lay on the bed and comfortably waited for Nancy's boyfriend to arrive.
He thought he was about to come in.
Belle then heard someone enter the house,
Thought he was about to
so
hit
she
her.
got up, straightened her hair, and excitedly exclaimed.
Straight
He's
in.
here.
When
Straight
he
in Nancy's
opened the
hair.
door, his face immediately changed.
Oh my God! What are you? What have you done?
He couldn't
go,
help
girl.
but be in awe of Belle's horrible appearance.
I'm your girlfriend.
Belle went to hug
Boop,
him,
boop,
but he
boop.
immediately pushed away.
Yup.
Let me
and
go.
Stalker.
Where is Nancy?
He raised his voice. Only then did he take a closer look at the hair
Yeah.
on Belle's head, where there was
girl.
still a little bit of Nancy's skin and blood.
What did you do to her?
Killed
He
her.
screamed.
Don't you recognize me?
Stalker.
Belle lunged forward
Ooh.
again, but
Yeah.
was punched in the face by him,
Punched
and
in
she
the
fell to the
face.
ground.
The fuck are
He
you
quickly
doing?
ran out of the house and called the police.
Sock that ass in the jaw. I know she was stunned.
Police arrived at the scene and discovered Belle was still sitting in front of the mirror,
Oh,
combing
sick.
her hair. They immediately
Nancy's
took her
hair.
to the police
She ain't about to
station.
do that.
Nancy's body was found in the bathtub with her scalp cut off by Belle. Now that you've
my
heard this
top
story,
Killed.
her scalp cut off.
Oh, look at that, y'all. She peeled her shit back. Why didn't you ask sis to buy you a wig? She was already buying you clothes. You gonna steal her hair and shit and try to fuck her man? Ah.
By Belle. Now that you've heard this story, please think twice before hiring a maid.
Like, why would like hiring a maid is one thing, but giving the bitch the keys to your house, laying her up in your house. Dollar Tree, this is supposed to be Craig's blood.
With Halloween coming up, the store manager made us all work graveyard shifts. Our duty was just to put the goods on the shelves and clear the warehouse to make room for Halloween packages. I worked with my boyfriend, Lucas. It was 9 p.m., and we started to close the store. Lucas and I checked the stalls and rearranged the items that were in the wrong place.
So I am going
Well,
to go to
the manager
one.
had-
Only 'cause I seen this one.
Looking for a new roommate is always a daunting task.
My boyfriend, Lucas.
She's working with her man.
It was
Lucas.
9 p.m., and we started to close the store. Lucas and I checked the stalls and rearranged the items that were in the wrong place.
And we've
Well,
seen this one.
the manager had
Yep,
prepared
couple
so
minutes.
well for
Big good
Halloween,
vibe.
but the quantity of goods imported seemed not enough for people's demand. I
good
sighed when
vibe.
looking at
Just
the
use the
empty
next
$1 store shelves. After locking the door, I went around to check once more.
Lucas, this is not funny.
I said grumpily, but Lucas said nothing.
When he played with you like that?
Jeez!
My heart almost jumped out. The strange man stood there like a statue and stared at the toy stall
Oh,
with
wait,
lust
don't be
in
doing
his
that.
eyes. He didn't blink once, but it was closing time, so I had to send him out.
Hi. Unfortunately, it's time for Dollar Tree to close, so would you mind coming back tomorrow morning?
I walked over and said to him, but there was no signal that he would move.
I'm sorry, sir. You need to get out for now.
I tried to get more serious, but he just stood there and smiled like a freak.
Sir, if you don't leave, I must call 911.
The police were my last resort. I wanna buy this. He suddenly picked up a doll and showed it to me.
It's crazy
Sorry,
because I
but we
respect people
close
with
right
mental
now,
disabilities. It's
so
just, you know,
I can't sell it to you.
You
I
have to
replied.
understand.
But I
Where's
want
your
to
caregiver?
buy it. I have money.
He murmured while giving out a lollipop. Pay with sweets? What's the problem with him?
Sir, we can't sell you that because the store is closed.
Like there's no
I
register.
tried to be firm.
No. I want it. I want it.
And just like that, I would have been ready to give it to you for free if you start hollering.
He started to cry like a child and tried to push the candy forwards.
I can't sell it to you.
I was exasperated.
Besides, this isn't even money. It's just a lollipop.
I threw the sweet on the ground. The man suddenly got so angry about that, his face turned red.
I want to buy it.
He rushed over and pushed me down. I bumped my hand against the shelf. My wrist hurt terribly. I was scared, trying to back away. I really didn't know what to do. I just wished Lucas would come to rescue me. The man, in the meantime, took
Like, where
heavy
has
steps
Lucas been
toward
this
me.
whole time?
The doll in his hand was squeezed so tightly that it was deformed.
Like, do you even want the doll anymore? You over here trying to beat me up over the damn doll.
Then the man reached out his hand towards me.
Hey!
Fortunately, Lucas showed up in time. His
Finally.
voice startled the creepy man, who was now like a child being scolded. He sulked and left. Lucas helped me get up while I was still in shock about what had just happened. If he hadn't arrived in time, I'd probably end up like that doll.
And what a...
Lucas assured me that this monstrous man had already left, but I still hadn't regained my composure. Does it still hurt? Lucas
Yeah,
looked
I
at my
feel.
wrist. Fortunately, the injury was not too serious. Well, I just need to finish with this stuff, and then I'll be back, okay? Lucas told me.
Go with him.
At this time in the shop, the lights were on brightly, so I felt less scared.
Lucas?
Go with
Thinking
him.
that Lucas was playing tricks again, I called out.
Again, you wasn't playing the first
That
time.
sound made me jump. Did something happen to Lucas? Hastily reaching for my phone to light up the light, I tiptoed towards the noise. Oh my God! There were a lot of glass pieces on the floor, and
Stop.
when the light was turned forward a bit, I saw blood.
Lucas,
Oh.
Scott.
Lucas!
I panicked and ran over to Lucas. The bleeding didn't stop, making me panic even more.
Jesus, Lucas!
I tried to stop the bleeding while calling 911.
Oh, help! My boyfriend is hurt. We're at the Dollar Tree store. Don't worry, Lucas. I already called an ambulance.
I couldn't hold back my tears while stopping the bleeding. A sound behind me sent chills down my spine. I turned around. That creepy man.
He was now looking at me with bloodshot eyes. In his hand was a sharp piece of glass. In his other hand was a doll.
I want to buy it.
You ain't even got no money.
He threw the bloody doll in my face. I went completely numb. I could only cry and beg him.
Please, let me go.
I said I want to buy it!
You ain't
The
even
man
got no
shouted,
money.
simultaneously raising the sharp glass and slashing it down. I dodged it. In the moment, I was able to push his hand away so I could avoid a fatal wound. But he still had shards of glass in his hand and tried to stab me. Right at this moment, I heard the siren so close.
I would have been so mad.
The police promptly rushed in and caught the
All this
man.
this man's doing,
The
all this
ambulance
he ain't even got
also
no money.
quickly gave first aid to Lucas, and he was taken to the emergency
You
room.
live?
Things have been back to normal now, but that memory still shivers down my spine, and I can never forget it.
I wouldn't either. 'Cause ain't no way.
Looking for a new roommate is always a daunting task, I have to admit. Even though you interview and take the time to get to know that person, you don't truly find out who they are until you start living with them.
And true.
I used to have a roommate named Ruby. I was contacted a couple of hours after placing an ad on the Facebook Marketplace. The message read, "Hey, I'm Ruby. I'm an apprentice chef, and I'm looking for someone new as my roommate moved into LA this year. I don't have much stuff except for the freezer I'm using for my work. I hope you don't mind." My first and most obvious reaction after reading the message was to check her profile. She had long, messy blonde hair and green eyes in her profile picture. I smiled to myself and decided to send her a message.
Of course you did.
By stalking Ruby's newsfeed, I expected her to be a pleasant person, and she actually was. Besides, she also cooked delicious food that I loved. One day I got home around midnight,
Just eat.
dog-tired after a long day at work. Ruby's room was dark. She's probably been asleep for a while. I was craving a peanut butter and banana sandwich, so I reached the kitchen area. I opened the fridge and grabbed what I needed. Fortunately, in the cupboard, there were exactly only a few slices of sandwich, a ripe banana, and peanut butter. I took all those things and left the fridge empty. As I turned around, I stubbed my toe in the edge of the island countertop. It felt like an electric current passed through my body.
Ouch!
I couldn't help but growl, hoping my toes wouldn't bleed. As I raised my head back up, it was greeted by a shadowy figure. Ruby was standing in the doorway, leading to her room. The darkness behind her almost seemed to envelope her. "Is everything okay?" she said in a deadpan tone. "Yeah, I'm sorry. I just slammed my toe into the corner of the countertop. I hope I didn't wake you." "Okay," she said, in the same deflated tone as before. She then turned around and walked back into the darkness of her room. Again, the house was immersed in silence. The next morning, I was awakened by the mouth-watering aroma emanating from the kitchen. It's only 6 a.m. Ruby wakes up so early. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I decided to take a shower and prepare for homework. "Do you want some?" Ruby's meatballs were a masterpiece. Its taste was unique and captivating. I asked Ruby many times which animal has such tasty meat, but the answer was always, "It's my secret recipe."
Human.
That night, my stomach turned queasy, so I asked my friend to cover my shift. I came home at around 8 p.m., 4 hours earlier than usual, to notice that the light wasn't turning on. I turned around and flipped the light switch to confirm my suspicions. Sure enough, the power was out. I walked over to Ruby's room and knocked on her door to tell her about the power outage and asked if she had dinner, but there was no answer. She might be out for dinner, I thought. When I finally emerged from my room, I walked into the kitchen to see what I could eat. Just when I remembered, I emptied the fridge last night. I tripped, fell to catch myself at the countertop, ending up on the ground. There's something greasy pouring on the floor and the countertop. Jesus, how could Ruby be so messy when she cooked? I muttered under my breath. I ain't really exclaim as I looked down at the floor. So I turned on the flashlight, trying to figure out what I had
What?
slipped on. There were red streaks like ketchup everywhere. What's new? It all leads to the freezer in the corner of the room. Is this the secret recipe that Ruby often mentions? Curiosity got the better of me. I quickly reached the freezer to find out the cause of the viscous liquid. That's when I realized it had a padlock attached to the freezer. I then pulled out a small pair of bolt cutters and snapped through the metal padlock,
but
which
you
fell
got
to the
bolt
ground with a
cutters.
large thud. I creaked open
It's
the door of
party.
the freezer and was greeted with a putrid stench that permeated my nostrils.
That's
Inside were so many bags of fresh meat that Ruby had divided into small portions. As I was rummaging through, my hand suddenly touched something. Although being burned by the cold of the ice, I still tried to peer inside. Oh my God! I couldn't believe my eyes.
cute.
Lying at the bottom of the freezer was a human head. Large, milky white eyes, a swollen black tongue surrounded by cracked and bloated lips. An ear was gone, leaving a ragged, fresh cut. My mind reels, horror overwhelms me. It didn't take long for the nausea to hit, but before I could regain my senses, I heard the sound of a key sliding into a lock.
Get up
Ruby
out of
was
there.
back. I quickly closed the closet, just in time for Ruby to enter the house. You? Since when did you come back? Ruby seems to be surprised at my presence. I have to grab something. I greeted Ruby and hurried out of the freaking house. I spent the night at the police station. What I heard from them was that when the police arrived, the freezer and bags of meat were still there, but they found no trace of Ruby. The bedroom was empty. Ruby must have been packing clothes and stuff ever since. It is affirmed that all the bags of meat that Ruby kept in the freezer were flesh of different people. Under the bed, they found a notebook with various Polaroid pictures and notes. The most recent page is a picture of me, sleeping.
She's gonna eat you. She was gonna eat you.
The summer is coming, and every year at this time, I spend some weeks relaxing somewhere in the suburbs. This year, I decided to find a place on Craigslist. You know, on Craigslist,
I don't.
you can buy or rent anything. I mean anything. So I found a fully furnished 2-story apartment for $800 a month. After finishing the forms they required, I moved into the accommodation. The owner had opened the door before I arrived. Impressive. I was glad he did that. But then I realized this house was not like I expected. It looked dark and a bit mysterious and smelt like something fishy, which almost
Body.
made me throw up.
This one.
When I opened the kitchen window, I saw some blood streaks on the sink. Maybe the owner had not cleaned up after cooking. Oh, that would explain the smell. I sighed and washed them away.
I'll skip it.
My mother raised my 2 brothers alone, since my dad passed away when I was a child.
Oh.
As a teen, I used to stay up way past midnight every night, watching terrifying videos on YouTube. My mom had always emphasized the importance of sleeping well to me and would definitely disapprove of my late-night routine. So I knew that if she caught me at that time, I'd be in big trouble. When I was 16 years old, my peaceful town was in turmoil as some children were suddenly disappearing. But you know, in the countryside, it's normal for kids like us to run away from home for a few days. Facing this news, my mum even grew more and more paranoid. Every night,
You should
I'd
be.
hear one of them wandering into my room, checking on me. And every night, she always checked on my brother, Daniel, first, and then came to my room. Even though she tried to walk softly, I could hear her footsteps. I'd immediately turn off my light and pretend to be asleep. I heard the door open, and my mother's tiptoe stepped into the room. I wondered if she knew I wasn't sleeping, because often it was only after what seemed like hours before they'd finally leave. The 16-year-old me felt my privacy was violated. However, I didn't dare cough a word because that only confirmed her suspicions. It was Saturday night. My mom got the news that my grandmother had been sent to the emergency room, so she had to leave home that night. Before heading off, she gave me a stern word reminding me to lock the doors and take good care of Daniel, who
And
was
you better
so
do
scared
both.
of ghosts at that time. She told me she'd be watching through the security cameras to make sure I'd follow that properly. To be honest, I was quite glad that I had the whole evening to watch horror movies. My mother had just left, so I called my friend to bring me the movie, Silence of the Lambs, to watch. A few minutes later, my friend arrived, holding the DVD in hand. I was extremely excited and hurriedly turned on the TV to watch.
You gotta watch it with Daniel.
Meanwhile, my brother Daniel sat next to me coloring. Now it's 10 o'clock. I urged Daniel to go to bed. It took me half an hour to settle him down. I gently closed the door and went to the living room to finish the movie. I couldn't have my mom knowing that I was staying up late, so I did something naive and ignorant, something I'll always regret. I turned off the security cameras. For the next 2 hours, my eyes never strayed from the screen. It was late at night, and the movie gave me goosebumps. Sometimes I feel like someone is standing behind me, but I know it's all made up in my head. Around 12 o'clock, I suddenly heard the door creak from Daniel's room. Maybe my brother got up to drink water. For a while, still not leaving the screen, I called out, "Daniel, are you not asleep yet?" No one answered. Feeling strange, I went to Daniel's room to check. The door was still closing. "Daniel?" I whispered. He didn't reply, but I could see him under the cover. I went back to the living room to finish watching the movie. It was about to reach the climax of the movie when suddenly I felt a strong wind blowing from nowhere. I glanced quickly toward the corner of the room. The main door was unlocked. The strong wind blew it open. Oh my God! This is bad! This is so bad! Could it be? Having a bad feeling, I grabbed the baseball bat and crept up to Daniel's bedroom. "Daniel, are you asleep?"
Rub the
Usually
blanket
this
back at
noise
this point.
would have woken him up. I knew something was wrong. I turned the blanket over to check. What? Lying in the blanket was not Daniel, but a strange man I had never
Hit him
seen
with the
before.
bat.
He was pale,
Bat!
and his
Bat!
eyes were bloodshot and had huge gaping fangs under
Where
them.
the fuck is Daniel?
While I was still motionless and fear, he grabbed my
Oh!
hand and squeezed it.
He about
Shocked
to
and
bite
panicked,
you?
I smacked
Yep.
him on his disgusting
Bow.
face with my baseball
Bow.
bat. I hit him
Bow.
so hard
Bow.
that blood splattered
Bow.
my face, and eventually he had to let go of me. I rushed to my bedroom, locked the door, and called the police. I
Where's
was so worried
Daniel?
about Daniel. I hadn't seen him ever since. Had he been kidnapped? No, I don't want to think about it. My poor Daniel. A few minutes later, the police arrived, and my mother was home shortly after. The stranger was nowhere to be found.
Daniel.
All they found were bloodstains on the bed, and Daniel, my dear brother, shivering in the closet.
Oh.
He must have been like me, pretending to be asleep and hiding in the closet as soon as he heard a strange noise at the door. And since I turned off the camera, the police never found him. A few months later, when things had calmed
He was
down,
okay in the
I joked with
closet.
my mother. "I see why you're so worried that you have to check my room every night." My mother looked at me with concern. "What do you mean? I never checked your room after you slept."
Oh. That man was in there watching y'all for mad long. Okay. You know we love a good ASMR. We love a good mystery. You know, we enjoy it over here. Ooh. Let me know which one was y'all's favorite in the comments. As always, I'll say my favorite was possibly the third one because it's one I haven't seen before. And that girl really had bodies in the damn deep freezer. Like, that man just be, that's where you just can't just be eating at anybody's house. You don't know what anybody just got up in they damn refrigerator. You know? You don't know what they got. They're clean. How they clean. Just eating shit you ain't got no business eating. Now you just eating body. You thought you was eating rib. Mm. Yes, y'all. So that one was my favorite. hmm So let me know your favorite and why. And until next time, you guys, I love y'all. Bye.